June 14th, 1856, over 30,000 people gathered at Stafford Prison, eagerly awaiting the arrival of one man. The man was all the people of England talked about recently. His crimes sickened most, even in a century where it seemed like murder was the norm. Finally, after what seemed like hours, he finally arrived. The crowd of over 30,000 all went silent as he made his way onto the stage. Once there, George Smith, a veteran executor, nodded his head to the man. He nodded back, realizing out of everyone there, he would be the only one to show him an ounce of respect. The prison governor, who was also sent to the event, looked at the small and stout man and asked him a question that everyone wanted, no, needed, answered. Would you like to confess your guilt of the crimes you are accused of? Thinking for a moment, the man eyed the governor and simply said, Today I wanted to cover the infamous case of William Palmer, a man dubbed the Prince of Poisoners, and although William was only convicted of one murder, he is believed to have killed many more, including his wife and 4 of his children. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the life of William Palmer. William Palmer was born August 6 in 1824 to Joseph and Sarah Palmer. He was the 6th of 8 children and grew up fairly wealthy, and young William had no problem informing other children of this. In school, he was known to be a bully, berating others who were not as fortunate as him. However, when he turned 12, his father passed away, leaving the family with a rather large sum of £70,000. 5 years later, when William was 17, he secured a job as an apprentice for a Liverpool chemist. The employment didn't last too long, as he was fired in just 3 months for allegedly stealing. From there, William studied medicine in London and qualified as a physician in August of 1846. After returning to Staffordshire later that year, Palmer met plumber and glazier George Abley at the Lamb and Flag Public House in Little Haywood, a local pub, and challenged him to a drinking contest. Abley accepted, and an hour later was carried home, where he died in bed later that evening. Nothing was ever proved, but locals noted that Palmer had an interest in Abley's attractive wife. This is speculation and has not been proven that William was responsible. However, given what we know of him, it is certainly possible that George may have been his first victim. Palmer, not long after, returned home to Rugeley to practice as a doctor. During this time, he met a beautiful young woman named Anne Thornton. The two quickly fell in love and married on October 7th, 1847. For 2 years, everything seemed to go relatively well. However, in January of 1849, Anne's mother came to stay with William and his wife. Nearly as soon as she came, Mrs. Thornton began to feel ill, often confined to her bedroom. And in just 2 weeks, after arriving at the home, she was dead. A doctor named Branford was called in. William, being a fellow doctor, most likely persuaded the elderly Dr. Branford into agreeing with his theory to the woman's death. It worked, and Mrs. Thornton's death was diagnosed as epilepsy, or as what we call today, a stroke. William most likely had gotten away with murder once again, and not only that, he and his wife received a percentage of Thornton's inheritance. However, William was disappointed, as he was hoping it would have been much greater. You see, William had a very expensive hobby, horse racing, and one day while at his favorite track, he met a fellow gambler named Leonard Bladden. The two became fast friends and would meet up regularly, sharing drinks and betting on their favorite horses to win. Unfortunately for William, Leonard seemed to be much better at picking winners. One day around May of 1850, Leonard won a large sum at the tracks and lent William 600 pounds. Unfortunately for him, it would be the worst mistake he would ever make, as William had no intention of paying him back. Leonard not long after became violently ill, and of course William was there to lend his friend a hand. On May 10th of 1850, at William's home, Leonard passed away. Strangely, he died with very little money in his pocket. Despite his winnings, his betting book was also missing, so it seems no one knew that he had lent William any money at all. A doctor was called in, and once again Palmer convinced him that Leonard died due to a, quote, abscess of the pelvis. These murders were of course horrible. However, his next victims would show how truly twisted and evil the doctor was. Palmer's first son, William Brooks Palmer, was born towards the end of 1848 and christened in January of 1849. He outlived his father, dying on the 29th of April, 1926. The Palmers had 4 more children. However, these other ones were not so lucky. I'm not sure how to go about this next section, but I think instead of describing in detail the infants' final moments, I will quickly summarize their names, dates of birth, and their deaths. All of the infants discussed were noted as dying by convulsions. However, he most likely killed them the same way he killed everyone else, by using strychnine, a popular drug used in the 19th century to help as a stimulant. However, in large or even medium doses, it would be fatal. Elizabeth Palmer died on the 6th of January, 1851. She was about 2.5 months old at the time of her death. Henry Palmer died on the 6th of January, 1852. He was about a month old. Frank Palmer died on the 19th of December, 1852. He was only 7 hours old following his birth. John Palmer died on the 27th of January, 1854. He was 3 or 4 days old. The death of her children absolutely crushed Anne. She became withdrawn from society, believing she may have been cursed, losing her mother and children in such a short time. It was understandable that she felt that way. Anne believed William was just as heartbroken as her, even though he didn't show it. He would still gamble, drink, go to bed, and do it all again. It was his way of grieving, she concluded. You see, Anne never got the chance to know her real husband, as in just 8 months after the death of her last child, Anne would pass away as well. On September 29, 1854, William was on cloud 9. He got away with killing so many people with no consequences at all. However, William wouldn't remain a free man for long, and in just 2 short years from now, the Prince of Poisoner's crimes would come to life, shocking everyone around him. Thank you so much for watching. Next time we will continue the story of William Palmer and how he was finally brought to justice. Thank you so much once again, and I hope you all have a fantastic week.